Cool, cool. Thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you, everybody that's here on this morning or afternoon or whenever you are catching this webinar. My name is Timron. I'm going to get things started and talk about supplemental instruction. So I will share my screen to get things kicked off. Okay. So supplemental instruction, it is a proven model for academic success. That's at Cal State Long Beach and many other programs across the country and even outside the country as well. So just to give you a brief overview of what to expect in the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to get things started by just giving an overview of what the program's about and help contextualize it, how it works on our campus at Long Beach, as well as describe the types of courses we tend to support through our program. I'm going to kick it off over to Lori Joy, who will review recent program data, DFW rates, and student performance. And then lastly, Lindsay's going to wrap things up by talking about who the SI leaders, the folks are providing the support directly to students, what does an SI session typically look like, as well as a faculty testimonial to wrap things up. So I'll have a short video to get started.
Hi, I'm Megan, and I'm an SI leader. Let's talk about supplemental instruction, or SI. SI is a one-unit, credit-no-credit class for students enrolled in courses that are traditionally difficult to pass. SI takes place directly before or after your lecture and provides a casual environment that gives you a chance to work with your fellow students on mastering course material. So if you're a little anxious about some of the classes on your schedule, SI will give you the study skills you need in order to succeed. Still not convinced? Let me introduce you to Christina. She took Bio 208 without an SI and failed. The following semester, she took Bio 208 again with an SI.
So coming straight from high school into college was really difficult because my study habits were basically non-existent. And I thought I knew how to study, but I didn't. But once I did take SI, I learned to be more diligent, to work little by little every day rather than cramming a couple days before the test, and to learn what things are important and what things aren't. So my SI leader, Mia, is a great inspiration to me and a great role model because she helped me believe in myself. And when I thought I couldn't push myself any further, she made me believe that I could and that I could be the student of my full potential.
Supplemental instruction helped Christina go from an F to an A in one semester. It also gave her the tools necessary to be successful in her major. So now that you've seen how helpful SI can be, make sure to include an SI while planning your schedule. So that covers SI. On behalf of the entire Learning Center, we wish you the best during your time here at CSULB, and keep in mind, we're always here to help.
Cool. Hope you all enjoyed that quick little introduction to our program, as well as a short student testimonial. As Dr. Johnson mentioned earlier, we are a component of the Learning Center in the Division of Academic Affairs. SI has actually been on this campus since the 80s, but I would say in the past 10 to 12 years, there's been a special attention to developing the program and aligning ourselves with best practices as established by UMKC, the institution that created SI. So SI is an internationally recognized program, and it was built for two outcomes: to improve DFW rates in historically difficult courses, as well as students' performance in those courses. So if you didn't catch it from the video, SI sessions, they're organized collaborative weekly group study sessions that are led by a peer that's already succeeded in the course. On our campus, the sessions are provided as a voluntary one-unit credit-no-credit course that takes place usually right before or right after lecture. We do have some classes where SI is mandatory, and those are for our learning community classes. So it's a part of students' schedules as they enter the university. And with SI, in addition to DFW rates and student performance, we're all about helping students improve their learning, improve their performance. It fosters a sense of community. And the overall goal is just to help students get through these classes and eventually graduate. So just as a special note on the bottom, we are accredited by the International Center for Supplemental Instruction at UMKC as of June 2019, if my math is correct. So that means that we have consistently hit benchmarks in positive data and impact, robust professional development, as well as direct training from the International Center for SI. So on the last slide, I mentioned historically difficult courses. So this is how we define it. There are three main ways we define historically difficult courses. And we, Dr. Jolly, work with the associate deans of each college to figure out the list of what those courses are. So the first thing to look at is courses that have considerable enrollments that have a high DFW rate. Typically 15% is a number where you start to look at. And we're looking at courses that either have multiple sections or courses that have supersized lectures. So these are the courses that many students typically take. We also look to see if the course is a prerequisite course or a bottleneck course. So students need to take these courses in order to progress towards a major. And lastly, we also look at courses where students really need to earn a high grade in order to be competitive or to continue their academic trajectory. The easiest example I can think of are the pre-nursing prerequisites, where if students don't perform well in those classes, their candidacy for a nursing program is negatively affected, excuse me. So prior to every semester, the SI program, Dr. Jolly, we work with the associate deans to figure out a list. The associate deans will let us know how many SI sections they would like and for which courses, and they would pay the Learning Center to make sure that we can provide the support to students. So right now, the main areas that students can find SI are in accounting courses, a number of biology courses, including the pre-nursing requisites, other business courses that aren't accounting, such as human resources, business statistics. We're in a few chemistry courses, math and stats, and psychology. And I'm going to pass the reins off to Lori Joy, who will talk a little bit more about our program's data in the past few years.
Hi, so next we want to show data that we've collected since our accreditation in June 2019. And in order for us to be accredited by the International Center of SI, our program has to provide analysis to show that our data is consistent with national trends. So first, next slide. First, let's just look at how many students we were able to support from fall 2019 all the way to spring 2021. In the first graph here, it just shows the total amount of students who voluntarily enrolled into an SI during these semesters. And as you can see in spring 2020, we had a dip in enrollment since this was a semester where we had to switch modality to online due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But during these two academic years, we had an average of 560 students per semester who voluntarily enrolled into an attached SI section. The second graph shows the total percentage of students from a target lecture who also enrolled into the SI section. So over the 2 years, we had an average of about 24% of students who enrolled from the target lecture, but also into the SI. And next, so the biggest data that we do look at is the DFW rates of SI students versus non-SI students. And as you can see in this bar graph, students who utilize SI have a significantly lower DFW rate than those not enrolled in SI. So from the academic year 2019 to 2020, there is a difference about 10%, and in 2020 to 2021, the difference is about 5%, where the modality is primarily online. And next, we have a further breakdown of grades between the SI students versus non-SI students. And here you can see in the first pie chart that 68% of SI students received a grade of A or B, whereas only 51% of non-SI students received the same grades. And then the next slide. So lastly, we look at the mean grades of SI students versus non-SI. If you assign grade points to the letter grades that students earn in the target lecture, like A is 4 points, B is 3 points, C is 2 points, etc. Then on average, you can see that SI students outperform non-SI students by approximately half a letter grade, as illustrated here in this bar graph. And next, I'm going to pass it off to Lindsay to talk about the next section.
So SI leaders are high-performing standout students who have successfully completed the course they're supporting and want to help others do the same. Their job duties include attending the lecture and then planning and facilitating their weekly SI sessions. They work with students to create an action plan and make sure that they're successful in the course. So what does an SI session look like? It's student-driven. SI sessions are planned and facilitated by the SI leader, and students work together to review the material and process the information. We use a metacognitive approach. They don't just cover what the content is, but they study how to improve their study habits and college skills and to be successful as a college student. They do this while building a community of peers, and SI provides a support system and opportunities to connect students with each other and peers with similar goals. And SI has positive student experiences. Out of 3,122 students surveyed between fall 2019 and spring 2021, 88% rated their experience with their SI leader with at least an A-. So that's really good feedback for us. So not only does it benefit our students, but faculty also benefit from the experience as well. The students in the SI class perform better on exams and earn higher grades. They're more engaged when they attend lecture and come more prepared. In a survey distributed to the SI faculty partners, 97.5% of 40 respondents indicated that they were either satisfied or very satisfied with their SI experience. But don't take our word for it. We have a faculty testimonial that we'll share with you now from Kelly Hessenegger, who is a Math 122 faculty partner.
Hi, my name is Kelly Hassenjagger. I teach math, and between being an SI leader, a TA, and now a lecturer, I've been working in the classroom for 10 years at Long Beach State. I was an SI leader myself for 4 semesters, and since I've been a lecturer, I've had the opportunity to work with an SI leader for 10 of my different classes. In my experience, having an SI leader creates a really awesome learning environment. Usually the SI leaders have outgoing, fun personalities, and the students feed off of that. Even in their SI sessions, that's just more time for students to work together, get to know each other, form study habits. So by the time they come back to my class, they're really comfortable working together and can have a fun time at it. So it's really been a good experience for me. Also, the extra time for structured practice that they get in SI is never a bad thing. The more time they're doing math, the better. The last thing that I have seen as a benefit for SI is that students look up to their SI leaders. Not only are they learning material from them, but they're also picking their brain for study habits, time management strategies, and just college life in general. So they're almost like a mentor for our students, which is amazing. Working with the SI leaders and the SI coordinators has always seemed like a team experience. We're all on the same team to be advocates for our students, help our students be successful in their classes, and also our SI leaders, like the coordinators, hold them accountable. They're always there to give them all the support they need. And the whole SI program in general is just very eager, and everyone involved has always been willing to go above and beyond for the students and the big picture of the program, helping students, helping the SI leaders grow. And I just have always been really grateful and appreciative of everyone in the SI program. Yes, I would 100% recommend the SI program to any and all of my colleagues. Not only is it a great resource for our students, but it's also a professional development to me. Every SI leader comes into the classroom with their own set of qualities, and it's really fun to pick out what those qualities are and learn from them. So I feel like I'm a better instructor because of it.
Thank you all very much. That concludes our presentation.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
So I can ask the first question, which is, Are there any stats for differences within SI students based on frequency of SI use? So that would be for the SI folks.
Okay, so yeah, I can answer that question, Carrie. In short, yes, there is a huge difference in the number of SI sessions used by students, but first I just have to preface that the national model for SI is more of a drop-in basis, where that means students can go to a SI session that fits in their schedule whenever they feel like it, and so throughout the semester, it's possible they might use an SI session just for whenever they have exams, or they can actually use it every week that the SI might be scheduled. Here at CSULB, we use the enrollment model where the SI class is scheduled into the student's schedule of classes. So already, if they're enrolled before the semester starts, they have at least 30 sessions built into their schedule. And at least by UMKC's data, if a student uses SI at least 10 times within a semester, the student already has a significant more chance of getting an A in the class. Here at CSULB, we consistently get students who are enrolled to attend at least 20 sessions. So yes, there is differences between the students' grades based on the frequency of their SI use, but here at Long Beach, it's definitely more ingrained in the students to attend regularly.
Are there challenges to learning that you see more often than others? And I guess this could be open to both academic coaching and supplemental instruction folks.
I can take this to start off. So actually our data, because when we do have student appointments that goes into a system, we're able to pull the data. And typically appointment topics are for time management or general study skills. When we see students in general study skills, they are often wondering how to take notes, how to utilize their text, and then again, how often they should be studying. Students will often ask, what's the trick? What's the method? But we try to loop back and ground them in their own personal learning experience. So what skills do they have so far? What are their preferences and how we can maximize that moving forward? But typically we're looking at starting at time management and working up from there.
And I'll kind of build off on that on the SI end. I want to echo a lot of what Jen said. At least on SI's end, we see a lot of first and second year students that utilize the program because we're mostly 100, 200, and a few 300 level courses. So a big challenge we see from students is the ability to really process and organize large quantities of dense information. So a lot of SI sessions is about how do we categorize, how can we visualize, how can we practice content, like reviewing this content in different ways to just help best expose the student to a variety of different strategies for just understanding what they're going through in class. And then I kind of also want to focus on kind of the non-academic part with challenges, especially in the past 3 semesters from what we observed with the uncertainty of the COVID-19 pandemic and things like that. Big challenges are students have been feeling really disconnected from campus up until this semester. A lot more mental health challenges with depression and anxiety and all of those sorts of things. So some of the feedback we've gotten, especially in the past 3 semesters, has been focused on SI being a way for students to feel connected to campus, actually being able to make friends because the nature of SI is they have to talk and collaborate with classmates. So big challenge, one of the biggest challenges we've seen in general, but especially the past few, were these kind of mental health, isolation types of feelings, which definitely gets in the way of learning.
What about talking a little bit more about what actually happens during an SI section?
Hi, Carrie, I can answer that. So the SI leader prepares a lesson plan that's based off the target course. And what they do is they use the content of the target class to engage students in activities to help them get a better understanding and think critically of the information and master the course content. They'll check for understanding by asking targeted questions, cold calling on students, holding them accountable for the information, and making sure that no one can disappear in the SI session. They use checking for understanding to make sure that everyone's on the same page and people are keeping up with their homework and their course content. So this happens through group activities that are prepared in the lesson. Yep.
What is the difference between SI and tutoring?
I can take that one. So biggest difference between SI and tutoring is tutoring typically has a tutor working one-on-one or small groups with a tutor in a subject, of course. And to me, the biggest difference is one, in a tutoring session, students drive the session with their own questions, concerns they have about the course, things like that. As Lindsay mentioned in her response to the last question, SI leaders are the ones that start driving session because they're paying attention in lecture, they're making observations on what the professor's emphasizing, what kinds of anxieties are popping up among students in relation to the class, and build lesson plans around that sort of thing. SI leaders also field questions, but the meat of the interaction is the peer-to-peer activities that the SI leader facilitates. And the second biggest difference is the way in which students would access services. So if folks want to see a tutor, they can go anytime, as many times as they'd like throughout the semester in a one-on-one appointment or small group formats. And then SI, because they're regularly occurring sessions before or after lecture, they are, students have to enroll in that. So it's in their schedule and things like that.
Great. How about a follow-up to that one too? Is the SI leader's role similar to that of a graduate teaching assistant?
So long story short, I would say no. SI leaders, they're not meant to re-lecture or re-teach anything. So everything they do in an SI session, the students have seen before. They have gotten the information firsthand from the professor, because the SI leader is all about reinforcing what the professor went over and how they went over it. Another big difference is TAs and GAs like grade exams, grade exams or assignments, proctor exams, do administrative support, and we don't have the SI leader doing that because it fits outside of their classification, instructional student assistant, which is clearly defined by the union that backs both their classification as well as the TAs and GAs on campus. But in terms of helping students review, wanting to get succeed in the class, being aware of what's going on in lecture, as well as leading their sessions outside of class, there is some overlap, but administratively, they do have to be different.
Is there an aggregated data feedback loop that would help the faculty member remove some of the barriers or challenges? So not reporting on individual cases, but letting the faculty member know trends.
Yeah, because I'm also getting this, like the way the question's worded, I also feel it's also about, I'm losing my train of thought, and I apologize for that. So it's about letting the faculty member know about trends of barriers or challenges that are going on. So at least in supplemental instruction, we encourage our SI leaders to try to meet with their faculty on a regular basis, online, in person, whatever way works for that relationship. I know every SI leader and every faculty is different, but for faculty and SI leaders that build really positive relationships, they start becoming collaborative. And a trend that we find with the faculty partners that really take time to meet with their SI leaders and vice versa is conversations start shaping around observations that the SI leaders having within lecture as well as their SI sessions. And faculty often have asked SI leaders for like a student level insight into what's going on in the class, what are students struggling with the most, anything that it would be good for the faculty to reemphasize or revisit in a future lecture, and things like that. Some of our best SI leaders are ones that are recommended directly by faculty that they're going to support. So they kind of walk in with a pre-existing relationship. And then in their time as an SI leader, the door for this type of conversations starts open. So not a formalized aggregated data feedback loop, but anecdotally, yes, SI leaders can share this feedback if the faculty are interested in it.
How about another question for supplemental instruction, which I'm sure faculty members are more than one are interested in this one. will I have to change my teaching style if I work with an SI section?
I can take that.
Oh,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Sorry, LJ. I can take that. Faculty don't have to change a thing. SI is there to support them, not to make any more work for them. So SI leaders will attend their lecture, take notes, and just checking in with an SI leader once a week is all that we ask, just so that they can get any clarification that they need. So it really shouldn't do anything but help out a faculty member, because SI leaders can follow up with questions that the faculty member can't necessarily do when they have a large lecture sometimes. So shouldn't be any more work on their end.
Thanks, Lindsay. Maybe a follow-up to that too. What if a student isn't sure whether or not to enroll in SI?
Well, they don't have to make any commitments right away. We really want to be there to help students that need it. So we've worked with enrollment services over the years to get an exception to policy where students can actually enroll in SI after census. So, and we tell SI leaders to, if there's space, as long as there's space in the physical classroom, students can try out the session for for like a week or two before they commit and enroll in the class. So if they're not sure they really want to take it, and if they're not sure SI is for them, they can sit, join, and see how they like it before enrolling.